Hello everybody. For today's lesson, we're going to be going over flight by reference to instruments. Mainly we're going to be covering straight and level flight, which I like to use as an introductory for attitude instrument flying. We're also going to be covering time turns and compass heading, or time turns to magnetic compass heading, and recovery from unusual flight attitudes. So firstly, with straight and level flight, a great way to learn straight and level flight is learning your two learning methods. Two basic learning methods used for learning attitude and instrument flying are control and performance and primary and supporting. Both methods utilize the same instrument and responses for attitude control. They differ in reliance on the attitude indicator interpretation of other instruments. So, we can see with control instruments display immediate attitude and power indications and are calibrated to permit those respective adjustments in precise instruments. Control and performance, and then we have our performance instruments indicate the aircraft's actual performance, reference to altimeter, airspeed, or vertical speed indicator, and then navigation, which is the navigating instruments that we'll be using. So with your performance instruments, you got your airspeed, your turn coordinator, vertical speed, altimeter, and your navigation instruments as well. But your performance is going to be those are your performance. Your control instruments are your attitude, and then your tachometer, your RPMs. So continuing forth, that's just showing us our performance, our control, and our navigation. The main way to use this is pitch control, bank control, power control. As we put in something for, let's say, straight and level flight, we know that, okay, our airspeed should look like this, our attitude should look like this, and then we're going to use our altimeter, turn coordinator, vertical speed to tell us whether or not we're climbing, descending, are we turning, or are we holding straight and level flight. Another important thing about instrument flight is being able to properly trim the aircraft, because that's such a major part of being able to control the aircraft steadily and well, is whether or not you can maintain steady flight constantly. Without a good trim, it's going to be hard. It feels like you're fighting the plane, and without reference to outside, if you're not paying attention to your instruments and have poor trim, you could really set yourself up for failure. So continuing forth, talk about primary and supporting, which should be, there we go, example of primary and supporting, which is going to be altimeter, supplies the most pertinent attitude information for primary pitch, heading indicator, bank or heading information, and is primary for bank and airspeed indicator, concerning performance in terms of power output. So, again, our airspeed, we know that if our airspeed is increasing, we might have a higher RPM. We know if it's decreasing, we know the RPMs are dropping. If it's holding steady, we know our RPMs are steady, but depending on what speed we are, it could tell us what power setting we're at. If we're descending, holding 90, I believe it's 2,100 RPMs, will tell us, okay, descending at a 3-degree angle with airspeed stuck at 90, I know my power is at 2,100. Same for heading. We know if the heading's turning left, turning right. Depending on the rate of turn as well, we know whether or not we're turning left or right, or how fast we're turning. And altimeter, attitude information, primary for pitch. We know if the altimeter is climbing, that we're pitching up. If the altimeter is descending, we're pitching down. The rate of that as well. So when we have a missing instrument, we could cross-reference with the other instruments to tell us whether or not we're flying steady, we're climbing, descending, bank, all that. And that could be one instrument telling us information that 3 instruments are telling us. So again, for straight and level flight, let's say you're just leaving a climb, you know, okay, my airspeed should pick up a little bit now that I'm leveling off. So I know my power should be set to a certain power setting. I know that my compass isn't moving, so clearly I'm not turning anywhere, and I should be coordinated unless there are heavy winds. And I know that if my altimeter is done moving up and down, that I'm finishing that climb, or I'm not entering a new descent. Another major part of instrument is the cross checks. You have different ways to cross checks. Some people like the rectangle, some people like the inverted V where you're kind of just popping in and out, and the radial. Personally, especially with the G1000, the first thing I do is base everything off my pitch, because I know my pitch is going to do a lot of things for me if I have that wrong. If I'm pitched up, I know my airspeed's going to start descending, my altitude might go up, my vertical speed will go up. Depending on how I'm pitching or how I'm turning, I know that I could be entering a turn and moving my compass heading too. So I like the radial cross-check even in the G1000. It's still a good tool. The G1000 does have extra tools as well that help us out a lot. Mainly our airspeed trends that will tell us, okay, your airspeed's picking up and it's going to continue to pick up, or your airspeed's descending. So being able to have a good cross-check too will tell you whether or not, or will help you fly a great solid straight and level. Now continuing, again, this is more information for the G1000 as well. Your standbys, all your information here, but it's mainly the same information, just displayed differently, if not more information. The G1000 is a great tool, but something I learned is when I started with the 6-pack, the old steam gauge, I had comfort in just those 6 and all that. I didn't need the extra. Moving on to the G1000, it does tell us like a lot more information, and it can help, but it could also be overwhelming as well, especially for instrument flight when you have everything on your screen starts changing rapidly instead of, okay, I know these 6 dials or these 3 specific instruments are going to be the only things that should be moving. Okay, now talking about time turns to magnetic compass heading. A big part of instrument flight as well is time turns. We do everything at a standard rate. It's 3 degrees per second. So when we're entering a hold, whenever we're turning to a heading, anything like that, unless it's a specific vector, we should be flying 3 degrees per second standard rate turns. With that, we know, okay, 3 degrees per second, if we do a 180, that's going to be 60 seconds, so that's a minute turn. If we do a 360, that's going to be 2 minutes. Starting early on in your training, stage 1, you're going to learn a lot about compass turns, and you're going to learn a lot about time turns. A good instructor should have you fly the pattern alpha, pattern bravo, which are specific time turn routes that will tell you, okay, fly this heading, or fly straight for 30 seconds. Now you're going to do a 45-degree right, or 45-second right turn, and then you're going to do a 15-minute left turn. You're going to hold that heading for this, that. And that teaches you time turns really well. So yeah, if you don't get taught that, I would ask. It really does help. Let me see if I can look it up. Instruments. A and B. Here we go. Here they are, yeah. So these are a great tool that will teach you how time turns work, and if you're using compass turns as well, that will help you learn about compass turns. You're basing everything on time, but you could use your compass as a cross-reference. Oh, I know. If I'm turning for a minute, that my compass should turn 180 degrees, and you could see it move with all the compass errors that apply with that, especially for the magnetic compass. So that's another great tool you could have, and that's part of flying time turns to magnetic compass headings, which is right here. And then for the last one, recovery from unusual attitudes. There are multiple ways to do this. Some people will have you close your eyes and then they'll fly the aircraft. Some people will have you tuck your head, cover your eyes, and you fly the aircraft. Some will do a mixture of both, where it's like, okay, you're going to control the aircraft for a little bit, and then I'm going to take over the controls, you're going to take them back, and then you're going to try to readjust yourself while you're still covering your eyes. A great way that I got taught later on is to cover your eyes and tuck your head, because that throws off your balance a little bit. You're losing even more references. And mainly, it's realistic. When you're flying, for whatever reason, unusual flight attitudes can happen. You either get lost, you lose track of what's happening, or you could simply lose focus and awareness, and you could get unconscious. And when you're controlling the aircraft, you'll realize, like, I still have my hands on the controls. I know what straight and level should feel like, but since my head's tucked, my eyes are covered, I have no clue what's going on. So mainly the recoveries for this, if your nose high, you want to add power, lower the nose, level the wings. If your nose down, you want to pull power, level the wings, pull up. Simple as that, but it can add up when you do it for a while. So you're covering your eyes, you're doing it for a while. You're moving left, you're moving right, you're starting to climb, you're trying to level off, you won't realize. And then when you open your eyes, you kind of get lost. Like, you could expect, oh, I thought we were nose high because I thought I was entering a climb, but when I was entering the climb, it wasn't steep enough, so when I leveled out, I actually had nose down. So, yeah, unusual attitudes. And then for the common errors for all of them, really, it's just cross-check. Not having a proper cross-check, not recovering properly from unusual flight attitudes, not knowing your magnetic errors when it comes to compass turns, and then time turns are simply not using the timer. I always like to have that timer up for whatever reason, because time turns are important, especially when you're entering a hold. So when you're prepping for that, always have that timer up. Even shooting approaches, some of them are based off of using the timer. So yeah, that'll be it for today.